This is Fritz Frivolous with continuous live coverage of the corner of Curious Lane and Just Because Boulevard, the epicenter of the alien invasion. And this just in, King Kong is fighting the Mobile Suit Gundam. And of course, all of this is happening amidst World War IV, making it pure pandemonium. If only Captain Planet were still alive to save us all. Dude, could you imagine?
Okay. I think this is the spot. I've seen the Bigfoot come around this area plenty of times. So wait, shh. I think it might be here. Yes, I see it just beyond those trees. Oh wait, Bigfoot's coming right at us.
How many times do I have to tell you? Stop using the word Bigfoot. It's demeaning and disrespectful. We prefer Sasquatch. Jeez.
Sorry, won't happen again. Welcome back, everybody. This is Tom Case.
This is Will Stark.
Will, I was thinking about this question for a while now, only because Halloween is coming up, and I do want to let everyone know that, during the month of October, we're probably going to have a lot of, Halloween-esque questions
Spooky subjects
that we'll be talking about. But
when does this episode air? Is it airing in October? Is this our
No. This one's not. But this one is going to air, I think a week before it turns October.
Okay.
I think so. But
Inspired?
This one technically, isn't really Halloween inspired.
Okay.
So this question,
odd that you would preface it with the whole everything's gonna be Halloween inspired.
I know. Well, only because I do know that sometimes people talk about these creatures as if they're, part of the monster realm, but I'm
very curious now.
I know, right? I knew
I'm very much going to have an opinion about this, and I'm curious to know what it is.
You know what I was just thinking right now? I was just thinking, wouldn't that be funny if we did one episode where I never tell you what the question actually is? I just dance around it and see what you can get from it. You would be so annoyed.
I would be frustrated for sure.
But the question is,
okay,
what if legendary creatures like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or the Chupacabra were real?
Okay, one of those things isn't like the other when it comes to the spooky aspect. But what if those three or just everything? Like, are we saying everything? Can you give me other examples?
Well, no, I'm just gonna say those three. But if you did want to start talking about other ones, there's like this one I think in I want to say it's New Jersey.
Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil, and then which isn't that supposed to be like isn't that creature like a moth-like creature, or am I thinking of another
of the
one?
Mothman.
Oh, Mothman. That's not in Jersey?
No. Well, it's on the eastern seaboard, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I thought. Okay,
I think it's further south. The Jersey Devil, I've always liked that story because it's like it's more based in like human civilization. It's based in real life more than any of the other ones.
Which
do you know
one
the
is
legend
that?
of the Jersey Devil?
I remember hearing the name, but see, I kept remembering that the Jersey Devil was, I thought, another name for the Mothman.
Okay, no, they're not related at all. The Jersey Devil, man, I'm very rusty on this information, but the story, as far as I know, is that back in like the early 1900s or late 1800s, there was I don't know if it was a family or just a woman, but they kind of lived in kind of a backwater area. Mm-hmm. And there was just a bunch of rumors about them and like the way they live their lives, as people tend to do when it comes to people who are different or away from them.
Yeah.
Of witchcraft and all this other stuff. And then I think the woman got pregnant, but she wasn't married. And anyways, they say that the thing she gave birth to wasn't human. Oh. And that it had wings and scales and a bunch of other stuff. And like she died in childbirth, and that the thing, fled and crawled up the chimney and flew away, and it had haunted the area for decades after.
And that area was in the Jersey. Isn't it somewhere in? It was like a foresty area. Of New
Jersey, in a foresty area of New Jersey. Yeah, that's what I know.
Okay.
I'm sure I got some of that wrong, but that's like what I know.
At least that was way more than I knew about it, because I just kept remembering, like, I remember the Mothman, I remember the name, the Jersey Devil, and I kept thinking those two are somehow related.
And I think the Mothman is like he stalks people at night and like tells their future or something like that.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't remember.
Something like that. I don't know. I know I saw the Mothman Prophecies, which was a movie. I don't know. Did you ever see that movie?
I never seen that one.
With Richard Gere?
No, I never seen that one.
It's pretty creepy.
Is it really?
It definitely alludes to aliens.
Oh, okay.
Like the Mothman or Mothmen are like beings from beyond this dimension and or planet, and like the way that they speak and like their motives are beyond our understanding.
Okay, so because I only thought the Mothman was like, he just like wreaks terror, kind of like the Jersey Devil. Like I just thought he appears, to you and, looks like some weird Mothman guy and, tries to kill you. Whatever.
What about like more modern ones like Slenderman?
Slenderman would be fucking creepy.
Yeah.
I actually, when I saw the first gameplay of that or like the story behind it and everything, the first thing I found out from Slenderman was through the game. Right?
Oh, okay. So you didn't know about the whole online phenomenon that had happened before the game?
No, I just saw the game and I was like, what's this? And the game was creepy too. Yeah. But that did make me kind of look into it. And yes, the Slenderman shit was creepy. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think there was 2 girls that killed another girl. Yeah. And they were saying that because the Slenderman told them to do it.
Right.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah. So back to your question. What are your parameters, sir?
Yes. So the parameters are... I don't really know like the exact parameters for this one, other than the fact that these, so-called creatures, which I know many believe or seem to believe that they are true, right? I, on the other hand, don't believe any of them are true.
No, there's no fucking way. They're absolutely not true.
However, if one of these 3 were true, I think that would have to be the Bigfoot. I think that would
of the 3?
Of the 3, yeah, that would be the most believable. I don't know enough about the
chupacabra to tell you if that one that one falls in my likeliness.
Yeah, you know what? You just reminded me. Let me go to some Fritz facts on these creatures. Here we go. So, Bigfoot, also commonly referred to as Sasquatch, is an ape-like creature that is purported to inhabit the forests of North America. Considered a close cousin, the Yeti, also known as Métis in Himalayan folklore, is an ape-like creature purported to inhabit the Himalayan mountain range in Asia. In Western popular culture, the creature is also commonly referred to as the abominable snowman. But we're not going to go. We're just going to say in America here. So we're going to say, Bigfoot, not just yet, not also the Yeti.
No, okay. Sorry to pause you here. I'm just curious. When you refer to Bigfoot, do you say Bigfoot or do you say Sasquatch?
You know what? Growing up, I always used Bigfoot because out of all the stuff, my dad was kind of interested in things like that. Like, I don't know if he necessarily believed Bigfoot. Actually, I now that I'm thinking about it, you know what? I remember him telling me all these reasons why he doesn't believe in Bigfoot. But that's what the term that I always saw in all of those unsolved mysteries, with the grainy footage that is always bad and it's always out of focus. Sasquatch, actually, to me, I remember hearing that word like much, much later.
I mean, I was introduced to Sasquatch pretty early, and I switched over for Bigfoot pretty much immediately because I always thought Bigfoot was a stupid fucking name. Yeah. So it sounds dumb to me, and Sasquatch sounds cooler. So I switched over probably when I was 9 years old. Yeah,
Bigfoot. I mean, it's all relative, right? It just because the animal has a big foot.
Big. I mean, maybe it's because I myself have big feet, so maybe I'm offended.
Yeah. You're like,
how dare you?
Yeah, you're like, we're gonna cancel you, Bigfoot. You better everyone better call him Sasquatch from now on.
No, but seriously, I have big ugly feet, so maybe I'm just sensitive about it.
The next one is the Loch Ness Monster, or other people nickname this Nessie. Yeah, I know, right? Cute nickname. Is a creature in Scottish folklore, and that is said to inhabit Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It is often described as large, long-necked, and with one or more humps protruding from the water.
It's essentially supposed to be like a plesiosaur.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Or what's that Pokemon? You know what it always reminds me of is Lapras. It always reminded, like I was like, oh my god, Lapras is real. I wish Lapras
was real because I love Lapras. That's one of my favorite Pokemon.
Well, Lapras is in Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands.
If only. And
then the third one, and this is the one out of all 3 I think is the highly unlikely.
Oh, that's interesting. Because to me, it's definitely got to be Loch Ness as be the most unlikely.
See,
far.
To me, I think it would be
because there's no fucking way there's a goddamn dinosaur in that lake.
Well, yeah, I know that is true, but chupacabra.
I don't know anything. Tell me about
you don't know? I thought you knew.
I know it eats chickens, right? It eats chickens
amongst other things.
Other things, okay.
The chupacabra is alleged, or chupacabras. This one actually is like supposed to be a species, right?
It's
Just
already
like
making the most
Sasquatch.
sense to me.
Okay, I could see that. That's true if it had more than one. But I mean, would you call a vampire a species?
Maybe.
You know, because they can make more,
because they
but
can't
it's
procreate. Because I don't think a mule is a species either, or technically a liger isn't really a species.
Oh yeah,
either.
because they have to cross the tiger.
Yeah, and vampires can't procreate usually. Depends on the lore, I suppose.
Yeah.
If vampires can breed with each other and make more vampires, then yes, they're a species. If not, then they're just a viral fucking infection.
So I'm assuming, actually, you know what? I didn't read into that part of this, but I kind of remember when I was told about the chupacabra, that's kind of how it works. Like if you were bitten by a chupacabra, you would start to turn into a chupacabra.
That can't be.
That's what
that's what you heard. But what did you read?
Oh no. From what I read, okay, let me finish.
Chupacabra vampire? What is this?
Come on, that's not common. You didn't know that?
No.
Okay, the chupacabra or chupacabras is a legendary creature in the folklore of parts of the Americas, with its first purported sightings reported in Puerto Rico in 1995.
Oh, it originated in Puerto Rico. Interesting. I did not know that.
I know, and then you know what too is I'm surprised that it was just back in 1995. Like you would think that this would be. I mean, I grew up
hearing the name, so to me it seemed like a name that always was. But
yeah,
but
true,
if that's where it originated. Okay, I'm fact checking you while you do this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pulling up Wikipedia.
If you fact check me, you fact check the mighty Google. The name comes from the animal's reported vampirism. The chupacabra is said to attack and drink the blood of livestock, including goats.
Its pronunciation, or its name literally means goat sucker.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. Oh yeah, 1995 Puerto Rico. That's interesting. You know, and then I didn't. My grandma never brought up the chupacabra. She was born in Puerto Rico. So.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think every single set of grandparents of mine is an immigrant from a different country.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, I kind of feel like because of this whole thing about, I mean, again, I didn't read a lot into the chupacabra, but just from what I remember people talking about it, it seemed like if you got bit by one and it didn't kill you for food, then you were going to turn into one.
I stopped fact checking you. I got to go back to fact checking you. I got distracted by the Puerto Rico thing. Reputed origin. Is that all you have for Fritz facts?
Yeah, no. For those three, I just wanted people to have a little background on the creatures we're talking about.
It is vampiric in that it definitely bites things on their neck and then sucks out their blood. So far, I'm not seeing anything about their procreating. Like,
yeah, I didn't get to any part on reproduction for the chupacabra.
Hey man, I was the dungeon cast. I talk about the breeding and mating habits of fictional monsters like every fucking week.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't see anything here about it turning others into chupacabras. But honestly, of the three, chupacabra I think is the most likely to be like a realistic creature to me.
Oh really? So still Loch Ness would be
like,
the
they
most.
Always seem okay. So what is the chupacabra like depicted as? Because I picture something kind of like small, like maybe like 3 feet tall.
I always saw pictures, like, you know, because I love watching those, you know, unsolved mysteries or, you know, fact or fiction, right?
It is said to be approximately 3 to 4 feet tall, but continue.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, the way I always saw it was like 4 feet. Like it wasn't that tall. And it kind of looked, I want to say gangly, like not like, is that the right word? Like gangly and almost like a mixture of like two different animals. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I remember it kind of looking.
It says here, a common description of chupacabra is a strange breed of wild dog. The form is mostly hairless, has a pronounced spinal ridge, unusually pronounced eye sockets, fangs, and claws. Unlike conventional predators, the chupacabra is said to drain all the animal's blood, usually through 3 holes in the shape of a downwards pointed triangle, but sometimes through only 1 or 2 holes. So this one is more like a wild animal that you might, maybe not on the island of Puerto Rico, but then again, I don't know. They got jungles there.
That might have mistaken, someone saw that, you're saying?
I'm saying of the 3 creatures, it makes the most sense that this one would remain mysterious because we're talking a nocturnal almost a dog-sized predator, right?
Mm.
While the other one we're talking about a giant ape man that lives in the forest or the mountains, and then a literal fucking dinosaur
in a lake.
Yeah.
I mean, where it has no other.
Let's start with the Loch Ness monster because this is turning to like why none of them are real. The podcast.
Yeah.
So the Loch Ness, the lake is a pretty big lake, but it's not. It's not the size of a sea.
Yeah, that's true.
Like obviously, I don't know what the lifespan of pleurodons or plesiosauruses or any of the prehistoric water dinosaurs are, but we've been talking about the Loch Ness monster for 100 years.
Maybe, yeah.
And we never found a body. We've never really got any real sightings. Like
all of these can be solved easily with the technology we have on our phones today.
Right, exactly. But my point is, like, there would have to be a whole family if they've been procreating long enough to survive the millions of years to get to this point in this one damn lake.
Exactly.
And the fact is we found none. Like if you find one, there should be at least 4 or 5. There should be a whole pod of them, but there aren't. Because there isn't one there.
And then you got to think of what food source would I have. Now, I understand certain things like baleen whales, and stuff like they're going to eat plankton, so it's like small, but the amount of plankton they need to have to sustain themselves, there's no way that this creature will have that in this lake.
Yeah. And then when it comes to Bigfoot, I would just say like the fact that like I think when we think about Bigfoot, right, we're talking about a large ape. And I think specifically, like, I think the common belief is that Bigfoot's like an intelligent creature out there hiding, right?
Yeah, I feel like
so. That's like,
I definitely feel like it would be like a primate of some type.
Yeah, but my point is like, that's the common like belief.
That it's hiding.
And that it's a highly intelligent one out there hiding, right? Which makes no sense to me because almost every intelligent creature that we've ever encountered, including ones that are pretty close to our intelligence level and like whales and dolphins, have shown like an almost universal curiosity when it comes to interacting with us as well.
Yeah. If they're that intelligent, they're going to want to know what we are and what we're doing there.
Exactly. And unless they have some sort of preternatural sense of understanding their, the danger in doing that, which, no other creatures really managed to do that as far as we know, including some of the most intelligent. So why would this primate be different from every other one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Also too, again, technology. If anything, a satellite image or something would have came up by now. I don't care how good you are at hiding. At some point, you need to come out to feed or where are the dead ones? Right. You know what I mean? Like, why haven't we come across a dead Bigfoot carcass or Sasquatch carcass?
Right.
Or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, all those things don't make sense to me. It just doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't add up. And then coming to the chupacabra, which I don't think exists either, but at least there's like the whole like theoretical evidence of farmers finding bodies of their livestock drained of blood, right?
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
Probably cultists. Let's be real here. It's probably Satan worshippers or something.
Yeah,
but
which then I think that it's even a worse problem.
I don't know. I don't think it actually is really like. Compared to like a pack of chupacabras, which according to you might even turn you into one.
Yeah,
of them.
That's true.
Like, no, that's way worse of a problem.
I guess it's not that bad since the Satan worshippers are like, going after animal and livestock and not you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. They're probably just rolling through. They'll be gone before you know it.
You'll just be annoyed by
But at least we got bodies. We don't got bodies when it comes to Sasquatch or Loch Ness.
You'll just be annoyed by their chanting when you're trying to go to sleep,
Wouldn't it be crazy because, you said the chupacabra was basically reported first in 1995. Wouldn't it be fucking nuts if like we found out, the chupacabras are real and they were like some sort of scientific experiment that accidentally broke out of their lab in 1995.
Oh my god. Yeah. You know what would make me think that was then?
What?
Weapon X. That would have been Weapon X, like the beginnings of like Wolverine.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I thought you were gonna go with almost like Resident Evil, like Umbrella Corporation.
Oh,
you've seen what the T-Virus does to the dogs in those games.
That's proof here, guys. You heard it. Me and Will have solved the mystery that the Umbrella Corporation is real, and one of their experiments. Granted, it wasn't like
went
Mr.
rogue
X.
in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it went rogue in Puerto Rico, and it's out there somewhere. No, but the question was, what if they were real, right? So I was actually thinking of, I know, like, now let's get to the question. Yeah. No, but I was just thinking of like, okay, if Bigfoot was real, you know what I mean?
Can we call him Sasquatch?
Or I'm sorry, you're right. If Sasquatch was real, first and foremost, we would have caught one. You know what I mean?
And first and foremost, there has to be more than one.
Yeah, there has to be
or
more
he's
than
like
one.
200 years old.
And yeah, exactly. No, I think it would have to be more than one. We would have caught one by now. But if Sasquatch really was real, if there would be so many hunters out there, one would be bound to be caught. You know what I mean? And I think the problem with that then is like, would they be obviously all the people who are going to study animals and everything like that are going to need to study this, but eventually it'll probably end up in a zoo. And if they are that intelligent to be hiding from us for that long,
I don't think it's going to end up in a zoo. Like, I think realistically what would actually happen, let's say we found a Sasquatch up in northern Montana. Like, it happened. Someone actually got a photograph and it hasn't been photoshopped and it's not a dude in a suit. They're going to send research teams up there, and the goal is not going to be to capture one, unless it has like some sort of like preternatural like ability or something. Excuse me. It's going to be to go find them and observe them. You know, documentary.
Yeah,
stuff.
like
You know
and they'll
I mean?
do like the tags on them so they can find them.
Yeah, maybe the tags thing, but I think conservation and environmentalism is at this point instilled enough into like the public zeitgeist that like our first approach isn't like actually going to be capture and experiment.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's going to be observe, and like, and then observe and conserve, and then keep people the fuck out. And
yeah, I do. You're probably right on that part, but I feel like eventually because like I always find when they, even when it's like animals that are, considered endangered and stuff like that, soon, if you find one, you're going to find young. You're going to find it's young. You're going to find a young Sasquatch. Yeah. And those will eventually, I feel like, unfortunately, I'm not happy about it, but I feel like they would end up in a zoo after a while.
I don't think they would. The only way I think they end up in zoos is if poachers get out there, capture some, and then next thing you know, you have a Sasquatch who they find in some like bunker in Africa that got deported 10 years ago, doesn't know how to live in the wild anymore, so we have got to keep it in a zoo.
And I'll be honest, unfortunately,
like, yeah,
I do feel like that
maybe
would
over
happen.
the course of 20 years that might happen, but I'm talking about
like right away,
immediately finding them.
Right
no,
away.
I think they're going to be pretty well protected. And I think the next thing is we're going to have to, like, we're going to be very curious into finding out exactly how intelligent they are. Like, because if, like, let's say they're like a orangutan level of intelligence, which is pretty intelligent, very smart. Like, cool, that's awesome. But like, not enough for us to be like starstruck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
It wouldn't be groundbreaking unless like if they're literally out there building huts, like mud huts. If they're like almost like Neanderthals or some like Cro-Magnon,
like the quote unquote missing link, right? That we,
even though like we don't really have a missing link, but like if it's like Australopithecus or any of the ancient humans or humanoids that don't exist anymore, if it's on that level, now we're talking about some groundbreaking stuff. And then I think at that point it actually becomes way more pivotal to never interact with them if possible, because I think observing them could answer so many questions about our primitive ancestors. Like, how do they live? What is their process? Like, what is their family life? Like, what is their language like? Like, these are questions that scientists and anthropologists are going to want to know.
Yeah.
And like, I think they'd be able to convince the government to be like, no one fucking, this is the line and no one fucking crosses it, because this is going to change the way we understand our humanity.
All those mountains and hills and forests in North America are all going to be Sasquatch.
Yeah. It'll become the new Area 51. Area 52. Sasquatchville.
Sasquatch Reserve. You know what I mean?
Like Sasquatchville. But
Sasquatchville. Well, then they're gonna have that museum, that little museum that opens up before you get there, so that you can observe. Maybe you'll see a Sasquatch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like exactly.
This is the equipment they use to observe the Sasquatch.
Right. Exactly. Now, Loch Ness Monster.
So
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say on this one, I think is the main difference and the main thing is that. Never have I ever heard them say there's more than one of this. Of whatever this Loch Ness Monster really is. Right. So that's the one that's going to be the hardest to explain if it was real. Because if it was, I think the same thing would happen though, but only because of the fact that there's only one.
So I think if we find a fucking dinosaur in a lake, I think the exact opposite of what I just said about Sasquatch happens with this one.
Oh, really? You think that's when
because there is only one.
Oh, and they want everyone to.
And because theoretically it might be the only like surviving dinosaur Like if we're not counting birds, we're not counting birds.
Yeah.
I understand the genetic leak and that essentially an ostrich is a dinosaur and it basically looks like one in a lot of ways. But like this would be like the real deal.
Exactly.
This is Jurassic Park shit.
Yeah.
Like we are finding this fucking thing and we are getting it in a tank next to Shamu, and we're gonna learn everything we can about it.
So,
and I know I'm sad to say that, but that's exactly what's gonna
do you think they would open like essentially a quote unquote Jurassic Park for this?
Oh no,
like,
no, they're not gonna let anyone
something?
look at it. No, they're not. No, I'm joking about the Shamu part. My point is they're getting it in a lab. They're like they're gonna try and keep it alive, but like they're gonna want to scrape cells. They're gonna want to they're just gonna want to test everything.
That would be really sad.
Because
I would be really sad for this animal. Then
just like SeaWorld makes me fucking sad.
Yeah,
for
that's
existing
true.
at all. But yeah, no, they're gonna want. Well, I mean, and maybe I'm being a little cynical, but it just feels like this is your one shot to learn everything you can about actual dinosaurs.
Yeah,
I think that desire and that thirst for knowledge, I think they're gonna go for it, unless there's more than one. If there's like a family and they're obviously like sustaining their life, like and there's a cycle, then I think it turns more into a conservation thing. Let's watch and observe, like how have they survived this long?
Yeah.
But I think if there is only one, I think they're gonna be too worried about like, well, what happens the day this thing dies?
True.
And there isn't one again. Like we need to get it and we need to protect it. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that backfires. Like just the very like fact of getting it to protect it, like is the thing that ends up killing it because it can't survive in captivity,
And also too, I was just thinking to myself, like there would be massive protests nowadays for that. If people ever found out like, oh, it is real and now the government's doing this or scientists or whoever. Yeah, there would be
probably would be.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you the protests would die down within a year.
The celebrities would come out. Yeah, for about a year, the celebrities would come out. They'd all start going on the Instagrams and whatever and TikToks, and they would want you to do what you can to free Nessie. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, as for the chupacabras, if they were real, I guarantee you they're a laboratory experiment. They did not just pop up in 1995. There's a fucking lab. There's a bunker underneath the jungles of Puerto Rico, and these things accidentally got the fuck out.
Yeah, and it's the Umbrella Corporation behind it. I can totally see it. I mean, it makes sense.
And it's probably like experiments into immortality, which led to some sort of vampiric monster. And now we have a bunch of chupacabras.
You know what? It always, whenever this type of thing happens, right? It always seems like it's two things: something to do with like trying to be immortal or making a super solder. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe
I'm going
that's
with immortality on this.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
It fits.
So
well.
it would definitely have to be something like that. I mean, because otherwise, I don't see any real way of how chupacabras could be real. But if it was real, I mean, man, you just got to imagine with what it could do. Now that's where I would think they don't have any qualms about killing them. You know what I mean? Like, they would go and of course they would try to take some of the study.
I'm picturing herds of these things attacking farms and stuff. It's very poignant that you've brought up this subject, because I just listened to a podcast that like covers all kinds of different topics, but this specific podcast was about a very specific historic event. Have you ever heard of the Great Emu War of Australia?
No.
So I'm not fucking around. This actually happened, and it happened in multiple instances from like the 1930s all the way to the 1950s.
Oh, wow.
Where essentially farmers in Western Australia, there was like a huge surge in the emu population. You know what an emu is, right?
Yeah.
It's like a mini ostrich, basically.
Yeah.
It's a fucking dinosaur. And these things discovered that they love wheat. And all these poor farmers were having 20,000 fucking emus, like just ravaging their fields, breaking down fences, attacking people that got too close.
Yeah.
And the guns that they had, the farmers, they couldn't really do anything to these birds. Their hide was too thick, and they were too fast.
Oh.
And so they called in military support, and the military came in with machine guns, and I don't mean like big fucking guns,
really?
the kind that go like on
like 50
on jets.
calibers.
Yeah, big sons of bitches. The emus won this war, by the way, because the military could not take down these emus. It would take like 8 or 9 like actual hits to take down a single emu.
Wow,
and
really?
And they would move too fast, too sporadically. They would leave and then they'd come back. You would just never be able to like gun them down. I think over the course of all these emu wars, I think only like 500 to 1,000 of these things across 30 years. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of emus. That's like nothing. actually were
Dang,
killed.
I did not know about this. I did not hear about it.
It wasn't until just the advent of like cheaper, better fences did the emu wars finally fade.
So they brought out giant guns, like 50 cals.
Yeah,
and
stuff to take down tanks. Yeah. And they couldn't take down these fucking
And then
birds.
finally they're like, oh wait, fences.
Well, no.
Yeah, I know.
No, they were poured. It was the 1930s. Like, God damn it,
It just sounds like, oh yeah, let's make better fences.
But nowadays, they actually, I'm not making this up, in the modern world, the farmers will actually invite like a dozen or so emus onto their land because I guess it's good for the soil and good for pests and stuff like that.
I see. So now they finally learned how to really like integrate and use them to live together. Yeah, sir. And the way that you were calling it the emu wars.
That's what it's called. I'm not making it up. That's what it's called.
I just imagine there was this one bigger, powerful emu who's like,
I am inevitable.
It's like Thanos. Well, no, it's hilarious that you say that because there was literally this dude took a news reel because no, not real, but a news clipping from the time, and it just had this made up story of like this imagined emu leader, like a great tall black one that like would literally like swing his head and guide the herd and like protect the young ones and like be the last one to retreat. It was like that's that didn't happen. You're just making shit up.
But that is what goes through my head too.
Yeah, apparently you and that reporter. But anyways, that's what this chupacabra situation reminded me of just a herd of unstoppable fucking monsters that you just got to build better fences.
But dude, could you imagine?
This just in, a new study suggests leaving an Apple Podcast review is very important for a newly created podcast. So please don't forget to leave an Apple Podcast review. In financial news, Patreon supporters are among the most appreciated in the podcast industry. You can support the DCYI team by heading over to patreon.com/dudecouldyouimagine. This has been Fritz Frivolous, reminding you to like, comment, and subscribe. Will and Tom, back to you. Think about the last movie you watched, the most recent television show, or even the last book you read. Now, imagine if you were sucked into that world. If you somehow became stuck in that universe, how would you fare? Are you one of the lucky ones, entering a world that's possibly better than your own? Or did you happen to become stuck in a dystopia or nightmarish existence to which there is no escape? Let us listen in on two trapped souls, Will and Tom, as they discover what awaits them.
And we're back.
Indeed.
So, Will, this question I'm sure a lot of people have seen, and it's a very interesting question. Oh. It's something that you've probably seen on like BuzzFeed or things like that.
Okay.
But I do think that they're interesting questions. And it is, what if you just got sucked into the last fictional movie or show, book or media? How fucked are you?
Oh, dude, I'm pretty fucked. You got me on a day where I'm totally fucked.
I was thinking about this too earlier. I'm fucked as well.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yeah. All right. Do you want me to go first and say what movie I last watched?
Yeah, if you want.
As I was leaving today to come to work, my fiance was watching the first of the newer trilogy of the Planet of the Apes. So I think it was Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Which watching it, honestly, that movie frustrates the shit out of me because I'm like, that's not how that would happen. That's not what people do. Yeah. That's not how that would go. But anyways, that being said, yeah, apparently I'm fucked because there's two more movies that tell me exactly how fucked I am.
Yeah.
So pretty fucked, Tom.
What about okay, that was the movie. What about the show? What about a show? What's the last show you saw?
What is the last show I saw? I have to think about this.
Well, let me tell you the movie.
What's the last movie you saw?
The last movie I saw, I'm not going to go into it. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But the last movie I saw was a movie called Awake.
Oh, yes. You told me about this.
And I would be pretty fucked because, we all know what happens to you when you do not sleep or you can't sleep. So right. I'm definitely...
And that's the premise of that movie.
That's the premise of that movie is that you can't sleep. And I'm fucked on that.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then the last show that I was watching, I am probably going to be fucked on that one too. Not literally. But because, it all depends on who I am in this show. And that's The Sopranos.
Right.
And we all know what usually happens to people in The Sopranos. You either get arrested or you get whacked.
I just realized what the show is, and in a bizarre way, I'm 1,000 times more fucked.
How so? What is this show?
Are you familiar with Coco Melon?
No. Coco Melon.
So I have a baby. I don't even know this time. I have a baby.
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard something about that.
And he loves Coco Melon, which is a show for babies.
Okay, I was gonna ask that.
For like toddlers and stuff like that. It's definitely, its age range, I think, is technically from like 1 to 4.
Oh, okay.
With 4 being kind of high. And it's essentially they take, it's like this weird, really brightly colored CG animated family.
Okay.
And they sing nursery rhymes, and they do like activities that are related to the nursery rhyme that they're singing. What they do is they technically what they do is like take classic nursery rhymes and they kind of reword them for a more modern situation.
Okay.
And like it's all really wholesome stuff, and it's catchy enough. It's, you know, but it's very repetitive. It's like over and over, including the animations themselves are really repetitive. It's like every chorus they're doing the exact same animations. And, you know, the baby likes it. We don't put it on for him a lot, but we put it on for him when we need him to be distracted for like 20 minutes while we do something. I limit him. He's not allowed to have more than an hour of TV a day, but man, does he love it. And I think it's just the bright colors, the big-eyed characters.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
So it's like a baby and then 2 toddler siblings. And then there's a mama and a papa, and they're all human.
And this brightness, though.
I can't believe I'm explaining Coco Melon.
I know. Okay, because like I'm stuck on what you're saying about this brightness. Because like when you first said that, I'm thinking, oh, you are fucked, because this sounds like a fever dream. Like weird warped colors that are just oversaturated.
No. It is oversaturated, but I wouldn't
okay.
say it's like it's not warped. I wouldn't say anything's warped.
Oh, okay.
It's just everything's very plastic looking because it's all, you know, super brightly colored in CG. It'd be easier if I just showed you like Coco Melon. But my point is, like, everyone's singing these songs that are, what is it called? Like an earworm, right? Like they get in your head. Like, you hear the song over and over again.
You're gonna be driven nuts.
Yeah, you're gonna be driven insane. Like you're gonna kill yourself. Except for you can't, because it's Coco Melon. Because guns don't exist here. Because it's kid friendly. Coco Melon. Hold on, I got it.
I don't know why I could see what happens, like if this were to happen and you got sucked into this show, like some weird twisted Twilight Zone episode, or maybe Black Mirror, right? And I could see all of a sudden.
So I'm showing Tom just a still, and it's just a bunch of kids in a classroom.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and there's basically 2 settings in this show. There's the house with the family, and then there's the kids with the teachers. And let me just say right now, as a father, I'm really not pleased with how much more attention I feel like every character in the show gets to their animation and the way they look than the dad. The dad looks the least realistic and the most like plastic, and his movements are the most stiff. And this is like, I'm like, you made the mom and the teacher and all the kids look kind of like, I don't know, you could just tell there's more attention
there's more attention
to
to detail for them.
I'm just like, why are we leaving this dad out to dry? And every time he sings, he's the creepiest guy to me in the show.
You know what? Real quick, let me touch on that subject. I remember hearing something that they were talking about the most recent like wave of commercials, right? Where like back in the 50s, right? Everything was, it was very sexist, right? The women were always depicted as like, they were being shown commercials for things that how to do laundry or how to mop your floors or to cook better, stuff like that. And they would always be depicted as women like, oh, let me get that for you, honey, and all this stuff, right? But then like after that, after in the more starting in the 90s, right? They were talking about how it shifted, and now because they found out that women were the more powerful consumer in the markets, right? A lot of the commercials started getting, I don't know if you noticed this, where the dad was always depicted as like being
like a schmuck,
or like he didn't know how to do something, or he messed this up.
Okay, Tom. So I'm gonna give you a hard truth.
Yeah.
The fact is, most dudes I've met, they're kind of schmucks. They don't know how to do a lot of things, and I don't know why that is. I'm not trying to be generalist. It's just
Yeah.
those guys I'm in. That being said, like, I don't think it's an okay stereotype. And I think it's something we should
but
break.
it just reminded me when you
Yeah.
told me how like you felt like that the dad in this like didn't seem to get as much of.
No,
like,
I just mean his animation.
Yeah,
Just
no. But I mean, like,
he
but-
seems like a great dad.
Yeah, no, I'm sure
And
about that.
he's not a schmuck.
But
in
it
the
is
show.
like, why would he not get the same type of animation as the rest? You
I
know what
don't
mean?
know. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know, but I find it insulting. But that being said,
But
being stuck in the world of Cocomelon would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I wanted to say what I was trying to say earlier too was I could imagine, and it's scary. It's really scary because I can imagine that somehow if you got sucked into this, right? I could see, your fiance coming in and she's like, Will, honey, where are you? You know what I mean? Glancing over at the TV, and you're stuck doing these animations. But that your face is so sad that you can't stop singing this nursery rhyme song, and she doesn't even know that you're there.
Yeah, that's a good point about the Cocomelon thing. Is like everyone, like there is no talking, like there's no actual like dialogue. Everything is done through song and animation, and so it's like if I am in that world, like. Am I locked in song as well? Like, are these people? Is this the only way to interact?
Yeah, that would be. Oh my god, that's a nightmare. At least with
the Planet of the Apes, I can like go into hiding or like join the fighting force against the apes and like have a fighting chance. Like
I was gonna say, at least also like in The Sopranos, if I was in there, like at least for some time, I would have, if I was a mobster or something, whatever, like I would have some fun in it. When I'm blowing off steam or whatever before I get killed or sent to jail or whatever, But that would be a nightmare. The Coco Lemon.
Real quick, I want to revisit what I just said about like the most dudes being schmucks thing. What I mean is like, and I said I don't know why. I do know why. Like, and because this happened to me too. Like, I wasn't taught how to do anything as a kid, as a boy. Like, as the son, like I wasn't taught how to cook. I wasn't given lessons on how to do my laundry. I wasn't guided.
That's true.
That being said, my
too.
parent wasn't good at all. Like I had a terrible childhood, but I think that's the problem. I think is that we probably as a society have given boys like the exception of not, having to do those things.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, when they're adults, they don't know how to keep a house or, keep things clean or it's things that suddenly like these same men aren't learning these skills until their mid 30s or early 30s or whatever. And that's not the way it should be.
I actually totally agree with that because, when I was growing up too, the same thing was I had a very traditional household where my mom was the housemaker. My dad went out to do the job and it was always things like that. And since me and my brother were boys, like, my mom wouldn't let us do the laundry, wouldn't, make us do that. She would do it, or cook dinner and all that stuff. One thing I got to always say that I love though about what my parents taught me, because I did not know how many people did not know how to do this, was, and now it's a little obsolete, but to balance a checkbook and to do the household finances, they made me do that. Like, even though they did it themselves, but like they made me do it as a chore.
That's an excellent
skill. Like, so then now, because I remember going through, growing up, and then my friends, when their parents finally made them do it later in life, they were like, wait, what do I do? How do I do this? Why do I do that? And I would have to go and tell them. And I'm like, oh, I guess a lot of people never was.
No, not at all. I think the majority never were. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't think I learned. I'm a fairly moderately good cook at this point in my life, but I don't think I started even trying to actually cook my own food until I was in my almost my mid 20s. I would say like 22. Yeah. And I didn't, start getting good at it until a few years in. My living spaces were a disaster, like an absolute, looking back, an absolute disaster until my mid to late 20s when I started like not being happy with my own like standard of living and like having to be like, okay, I need to change. I need to fix this. I need to form new habits that I should have formed before, but I never did. Yeah. But yeah. Anyways.
What about a book or media?
Like the last book?
Yeah. Ooh. Because you know me, I don't read a lot.
No,
my
you don't.
Medium, my choice of medium is film.
Though. Do you have like an audiobook? No, not even an audiobook. Okay. The last audiobook I listened to.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Oh. I don't know if you can. Well, I guess the term audiobook means that there's also a book, and I don't think there's a book of this, but it was like an audio story type. It was like an audiobook thing that I found on Spotify, which was through Marvel, and it was called I think it was called The Last Night or The Lone Night, which was a Wolverine Logan's story.
Was it based off of a graphic novel?
It might have been, I believe so, but I don't remember them.
I think if
that.
it's based off written work, then I think that counts.
Okay.
If it was,
then I'm assuming it was.
So you're stuck with Wolverine?
Yeah, which I don't know.
The Marvel universe, we have established on the show that the Marvel universe is one of the worst places to get stuck.
And actually, it all depends too. Again, who am I? Because if I'm against Wolverine, I'm probably dead.
Yeah. Well, no, you're probably just you in that world, right? Is that where we're going with?
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, no, because then, yeah, but if you're in that, what was it called?
Coco Melon?
Coco Melon?
Yeah, I'm just me, but I'm stuck.
But you're
I have to
stuck,
abide by the rules of the
that
universe.
Damn,
which I'm sorry, Coco Melon is the worst thing here.
Don't mention that anymore. I got that's giving me like goose, but yeah, man, that's like scary nightmare.
The last book would have been an audiobook for me. I'm trying to think. It might have been the last of the Stormlight Archive books that just came out. So honestly, pretty fucked, because in that world there's like a world war going on between these two like species, and pretty fucked. Man, so all in all, to recap, I think we're pretty fucked on all ends of this. Sopranos is okay. It's
maybe
basically our world.
Maybe,
you just walk away from the gangsters, right? I'm not part of you guys. I'm just the guy at the grocery store.
Unless, maybe it's that. But you know what? There's been there's an episode pretty early on where this guy's working behind the counter of a bakery, and he gets his foot shot because he made this gangster wait too long. Right, you know what I mean? Right. So I bet you there's gonna be something like that. But
so, okay, hold on. I know nothing about the Sopranos. So like, does it take place in like a fictional city?
No. It's actually all based in reality, in our, reality.
Yeah, but like where
in New Jersey.
What city though? Just some city in New Jersey?
It's like, actually it doesn't just take place in one city, because like because they're spread out. You know what I mean? Because like they like each captain would have like a territory that his crew is, doing illegal activities in to make their money. Okay. So it's all of New Jersey. They also have ties in with the gangs of New York, the 5 families and stuff over there. So like, yeah, it's not just one city.
I mean, in that case, I think you're pretty safe, because like, essentially you're just getting sucked into New Jersey / New York area. Yeah. Which like people live there all the time and don't get their foot shot. So, yeah. I think you're pretty good.
Yeah, I guess so. And the rules would be similar to our rules now in this universe.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But you know what? If anyone out there, if you guys have a story where, if whatever the last movie or show or anything that you saw, but that you're not fucked, please let us know, because we didn't realize that this was going to be turned into the Black Cloud session of.
So I think if we're going to go like the top 4 or in order from least bad to worst of the ones that we just named, I think the least bad is The Sopranos. I think that one wins, right?
Yeah, that probably.
What was your show again?
And then the movie was Awake.
That one's higher. Yeah. And then your book was Marvel, and then for me, Coco Melon, Planet of the Apes is pretty fucked there. Yeah. And then what was my book again? Oh yeah, Stormlight Archive. So I think Marvel and Stormlight Archive are next on the list. Yeah. And then I think Planet of the Apes is a little better than Awake, because Awake, everyone's
affected,
right?
pretty much, yeah.
And
except for like
it's
2
certain
people.
Death, right? It's certain.
Oh
death.
Yeah, it's certain death.
So then Planet of the Apes comes in at number 3. In my opinion, number 2 is Awake. Yeah. At least you get the sweet death to depart this world. And then I think the number 1 worst has to be Coco Melon, in which I can never age and die. I can never kill myself. I can never escape. I am forever a marionette.
That is a nightmare.
Dancing for the children across the land and singing really bad nursery rhymes.
Oh, but dude, could you imagine?
And now it's time for old news.
And it's Will and Tom with old news. Will, way back in episode 2.
In the olden times.
Yeah. Back in my day when we recorded episode 2.
Back in the long ago.
Yeah. We recorded No Sleep, Just Smash. And in there, we were talking about what if you didn't have to sleep. And you enlightened us with, what actually would happen to your body if you couldn't sleep. If
if you couldn't
sleep.
sleep.
Yeah, if you couldn't sleep.
Where you would basically slowly lose your mind, go insane, and then your body would shut down and you die.
Yeah, exactly. The reason I want to bring this up was, and I mentioned it earlier in this episode, but there's a new movie on Netflix called Awake. And no, they're not sponsoring me to say this. The movie is okay.
By the way, spoilers. Let's do a little spoilers thing.
There may be some spoilers here, but I'm actually not going to try and spoil a lot, just in case if you would like to watch it. And I actually want our viewers our listeners, to go and watch this movie if you have nothing else to do. The movie's okay. Okay, it was entertaining.
Give me out of 10.
Out of 10, I would say it's probably a 6 out of 10.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so it was, and I say 6 out of 10 because
it's like a D. That's not a passing grade.
Well, I view that like 5 being average, 10 being excellent.
Okay, that's interesting to me. Like I think literally that's how it probably should be taken. But I think the way the 10 grade scale has evolved, I think it comes down to like a 7. I think people consider like a passing grade. That's a C.
Oh, really?
Maybe it's just me. I would love to know what the people in the audience think.
Yeah.
Because I think, what's the word? Colloquially?
Commonly.
Commonly, I think it's like 7 is a C, 8 is a B, 9 is an A, 10 is fucking phenomenal.
So 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 is like F and D?
I think so. I think that's how it's commonly regarded.
I always looked at it, whenever it was a scale like that, I always thought 5 is the middle, so that's average film. Right. And then,
because the thing is, I think when you look at like the 5-star scale, I think 3 is considered average.
Oh, yeah. If it's like a 5, if you're using 1 through 5, then 3 is average.
Right. Because that's dead center, right? So it's the same logic. I understand what you're saying.
So, you know what? You know what's better? Let's use the 5.
Okay,
the
5-star
scale.
Are we including halves?
No. Then I'm going to give it a 3.
3.
And the reason I'm going to give it a 3 though was only because when I found out what the movie was about, it reminded me of this episode, and I was like, oh, it's a cool thing we could talk to our listeners on our podcast. Yeah. So the movie's called Awake. It's on Netflix. And basically the premise of the movie is something occurs to where everybody on Earth can't sleep.
Does that ever get explained?
You know what? That's the part that bothers me. I know, is they make the smallest fraction of a second moment where they mention what they think happened, but they don't know for sure. They never say, this is what happened. They actually go like, we think it was this. And I'm not going to spoil it, but they're like, we think it was this. And that's all they ever mention. After that, they never mention anything about that.
Another question, and you don't have to answer if it's spoilers. Does this, I want to call it an awakening, does this awake event happen to everyone all at the same time, or does it slowly start happening to everybody? No,
it actually happens to everyone at the exact same time.
I hate this movie.
At the exact same time, too, all power gets shut off on Earth.
What?
So there's no...
Are those related?
So there's no... Well, they allude to that, like I said, but they never fully explain.
The only thing, and you don't have to tell me if I'm right, the only thing I can think of is, do you know what a solar flare is? That's it, isn't it? It's a fucking solar flare.
Spoiler alert!
Oh my god! So it shuts off all the power and fucks up all our brains. That's so stupid.
Remember, everyone,
don't watch this movie.
Remember, everyone, Will spoiled it. No, you did guess. You did guess, but here was the thing. This is how they say it. They're like, this is like one military doctor or scientist, right? Is talking to the main character, and she goes, we think it had something to do with the solar flare. And then they go and talk about something else, and they do something, and they never go back to that subject ever again. Look, I'm not trying to say this movie's the greatest movie ever. It's not. But the only reason I wanted to bring it up was I felt like, if any of our listeners liked episode 2, No Sleep, Just Smash, where Will was trying to explain what it would be like if we could not fall asleep, this movie, in very broad strokes, depicts that. So if you just wanted to watch something where you're like, oh yeah, how would it be? And you want to have a visual to it. Yeah. It was okay for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is the only place you'll probably find that.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too that was interesting in that movie, spoiler alert again, I just wanted to say was that it even affected people who were in comas and or you couldn't be knocked unconscious either. Which I thought was weird, and they never explained that part of it.
That's interesting because like being in a coma is a completely different thing from sleep,
right? And also being knocked or like put unconscious through, let's say, gas or whatever, that didn't work either.
Like, could you not die?
No, you could die because, well, you'll see if
you
the
watch
listeners
the
will see if watch, because I know you're not going to watch it.
I'm not.
Yeah, you could die, but yeah, it was very weird. They did try to show that a little bit, the weirdness of like someone who may have been in a coma or someone who was trying to make themselves unconscious and it didn't work.
Like, so, what if you suffocate? Like, because, you know, you lose consciousness before you die. So in this case, you just wouldn't lose consciousness. That doesn't make sense.
I'm not going to answer that one.
Because the brain needs oxygen to stay awake, to even be active.
I'm not going to answer that one because there's something major with that in the movie. And our listeners, hopefully someone will watch this movie and tell me what you think about it.
And that has been Old News. I'm walking here.
And now, let's join Will and Tom with the traffic report.
And it's Will and Tom with the traffic report. So, Will, we have another 5-star Apple Podcast review. I feel like we need to have like confetti and stuff. Yeah, the like every time on Mario, whenever you jump the flag, exactly. So this one was from Wally3212. And
thank you, Wally.
Thank you very much, Wally. We do really appreciate that. I know Wally3212 totally makes me think of like R2D2. Like this person is an actual android from the Star Wars. Or Wally. Or Wally. Yeah, that's true. I love Wally. But Wally3212 says, getting better each time.
Well, thank you, Wally. I appreciate it.
I know, that made us feel really good. I like that. It was very simple, and we do try to give you the best that we can give you. Also, on our YouTube, Andrew Garcia, who's my brother-in-law, he was really interested in one of our episodes. Episode 27, Cannibal Court.
Okay, that was a recent one. And it's because he also shared an experience, a Hills Have Eyes experience. Oh, okay. Right?
So let me read.
I don't know. I feel like calling mine a Hills Have Eyes experience that sounds disingenuous.
No, but your story, like I know there was a couple on here that mentioned how they really liked your story. You know,
thank you. I appreciate it. I was creeped out at the time, so there's that.
Yeah, and it was a good story. I mean, I can literally see what you were going through. You know what I mean? And I have no doubt that you were really in the Hills Have Eyes. All right. Like if you could have gotten eaten, Will. That's the way I look at it.
Well, let's hear your brother-in-law's story.
He said, I once had a weird Hills Have Eyes experience. Long time ago, some friends and I were going to Vegas, and on the way there, we thought, let's stop at Calico, which is like a ghost town that you can pay money to see how the town once was.
Yeah, it's like an old Western town. Right?
Yeah, and in fact, it is called Calico Ghost Town. Like that's the name of the brand. So he says, we get there, and there's a guy working the booth and tells us that they close soon, like in 15 to 20 minutes. I honestly don't know if it was their dress code, but he was wearing dirty, grungy clothes. So we're like, oh, okay, no worries. Then he's like, well, you guys can come in at a discount price. We're like, no, it's okay, not worth it. He's then like, okay, come in for free, no big deal. Right.
Okay.
So, you know what, hold on.
Please don't leave.
Yeah, this is the way I feel like he says like, we get there and the guy's working the booth and he tells us, place is closing around 15, 20 minutes. And they're like, no, it's okay, no worries. And then he's like, well, you guys can come in at a discount price. And they're like, no, it's okay, it's not worth it. Then he's like, okay, come on in for free, no big deal, right? And then he says, I didn't want to go, but clearly his friends are like, oh, okay, for free, right? They're like, why not?
Sure.
So when they start driving, and I do remember this because I've been there before, you have to drive up like this dirt road.
Okay.
So when they're driving...
So it's not within sight of the booth?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we drive in, and then we see this lady in the same dirty clothes. And I get it's like supposed to be Western era, but they look like they rolled in dirt for days. She tells us, "Oh, you guys can park over there." And this is the time when the movie Wrong Turn. I don't know if you've seen it. Okay, yeah. Basically, you could tell by the name of the movie what happens.
They take a wrong turn.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is basically when the movie Wrong Turn came out, and he writes, "Yes, I'm that old. LOL." You're not that old, Andrew. Remember, I'm older. He says, and he was like, "Nope, we're not stopping." And he said, for him, it's like, if you're closing so soon, why have visitors? You know what I mean? He said that didn't make sense to him, of like, why were you going to just have people come in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird. I think it's a little weird for sure.
And he says, I feel like something might have happened if we stopped there. And I totally agree with you, Andrew. I think you would have.
Do we know what time it was when this happened?
You know what? He did mention to me, I think it was around like just after 5.
Okay, so it is getting late.
So it is getting like, yeah. And in that area, depending on what time of year that was, does he mention what time? No, it doesn't say. You know, it can get pretty dark pretty fast because it's nestled in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it's nestled in the foothills right there.
No, I think it's prudent to be safe. Like, yeah.
Especially, why would this other lady then tell them like, "Oh, why don't you park over there?" Because unless it's changed, I remember when I went there, it was clear when you drive up the dirt road where to park.
Okay.
So I don't know if she was telling him to go off somewhere, like, and there was probably maybe people waiting there.
I mean, maybe, but like, I don't know. It just seems like a weird place to set up shop for that, because it's like an actual landmark. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. Unless the park was actually already closed. You know what I mean? And like, you know what? That could be a conspiracy theory here. The park was already closed, and these Hills Have Eyes type people came out and was just trying to lure them in by going, "Oh, we're almost closed, but if you want to just come on in," you know what I mean? And
that's a creepy story. Have you ever heard? And I don't know how true these stories are, but I've read people tell these stories at a regular enough frequency to give them some sort of like merit, where like middle of nowhere roads late at night, and seeing like a car broken down. And usually like a girl out there in distress. And when they pull up, suddenly people start coming out of the woodwork with like, blunt weapons and stuff. Mm-hmm. And, the stories that you hear is that people just zip out of there, and the people like chase them and try to hit the vehicle and stuff.
Yeah. Like they're trying.
And like, if that's real, that's a legitimately terrifying situation to find yourself in. And that's kind of what this reminded me of. A little bit more of that than The Hills Have Eyes, but...
Yeah, it does remind me of something like that. I'm just glad, Andrew, that you made it out safe and you're not a part of a stew.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Andrew.
Yes, thank you.
And that is all we have for you tonight. We will continue to bring you up-to-date coverage as new imaginings develop. Please don't forget, you could join our Patreon at patreon.com/dudecouldyouimagine. Another way to support our podcast is by leaving an Apple Podcast review. You can subscribe to us on Instagram at dude_couldYouImagine, on Twitter at DCYimagine, and on our YouTube channel, where you can leave a like and a comment. If you would like to contact us with what you are imagining, you can email us at dudecouldyouimagine@gmail.com. This has been Fritz Frivolous, and from all of us here at Dude Could You Imagine, keep on imagining.
I literally listened to that podcast yesterday.
Dude, that was just so funny. The Emu Wars?
You should look it up, the Great Emu Wars.
It just sounds so funny that it's like, they brought out these 50 cal guns, and then all of a sudden like, oh wait, let's make better fences. Like, even though I know that's not how the timeline went.
No.